Alrighty, folks. Welcome back to the zoo. We've got composer and songwriter of Disney Pixar's COCO, Ms. Germaine Franco. Bienvenida. Yes.
Thank you. Yes.
We're gonna get a little Coco Loco here,
Yeah.
and we're gonna, sit down. 1, 2, 3. Wow.
Because we are un poco locos in this set already.
That's right.
How about this? Just congratulations.
Exactly.
This movie is making huge waves and making a huge splash. How do you feel about it?
I'm so excited. I'm thrilled and honored. It's a lovely, incredible project.
Now, how did you get chosen to be involved with this? Because, it's a big task.
It's a big task.
Wait, first off, what's the task for the people that don't?
Oh, yeah. Well,
Okay, well, I'm a co-songwriter with Adrian Molina, who's the co-director and the scriptwriter. And then also I did some production on most of the songs, or co-production, like the big Remember Me song, and I orchestrate, which means making all the score. Yes, do the scores and produce the musicians in Mexico for what's called the source music, all the music that you hear in the plazas. And that was a mix of traditional music and some other music written by the score. The soundtrack composer is Michael Giacchino, and I helped him co-orchestrate like all the parts for the whole orchestra.
And it feels so authentic too when you hear even the little sounds on the plaza, you know, and like it's so authentic. And I've been to Mexico many times, and you can really feel the energy of the pueblitas. It's so
Yeah, I
cool.
think that's one of the biggest things, right? Making these authentic sounds down to every beat, every detail,
Right.
every ambiance.
Exactly.
Jermaine, what's your background?
So I didn't finish answering the question. The other one. Sorry. Okay, so I'm Mexican American,
Okay.
born and raised in California, but raised on the border of Juarez and El Paso. And my family's from northern Mexico, Chihuahua, and Durango. And I grew up going back and forth to El Paso and Juarez. And I've been a musician my whole life, playing in orchestras and bands and in a lot of studio music. And basically how I got chosen, I'm going back to the last question, was I've been working in the field of doing music for film for many years. And I had a great teacher his name is John Powell, who's done a lot of huge movies. And through the connections with him, I wound up working a little bit with Disney on some other films. And they found out about me. They were looking for someone to do some arrangements. So I started out just doing arrangements of the Remember Me song for the Robert Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez. Then eventually they asked me to start writing, which was a huge, amazing
4 years, right?
task.
Wow.
Yes, I worked on it for 4 years off and on.
Wow.
So how does it feel to you to feel, because I'm from Mexico, so to me the movie was amazing for many, many, many reasons. But also, like, I haven't gotten like one bad comment. Everybody loves it. Everybody's like cheering for it, clapping, crying. Everybody's like, it's so beautiful, you gotta see it. What's the feeling for you to know that you were part of such a special project?
Well, it's
with your heritage too.
It's a feeling of sweet, celebration, because my family came from Mexico, and we have this long, line of roots back to Mexico, and I feel, and also my great grandmother was Tarahumara, which is, she's
very
indigenous,
indigenous.
and so this whole celebration is coming from the indigenous perspective. And I feel so happy to be able to share what I learned about, Mexican music through traveling all my years in college. I would go to Mexico whenever I could just to play music. And I used to play with like the marimbas on the street.
Oh my God, you're like me, girl, little girl.
That's amazing. That's a real musical education.
I love it. I love it.
And for those of you who haven't seen it, I would recommend seeing it in Spanish. I don't know, you can see it in English and Spanish, but there's the soundtrack in Spanish, and to me, it makes more sense to hear the music in Spanish because that's kind of how it's meant to be. What was your experience having a soundtrack both in English and in Spanish?
I love having the two, really, because, they have a separate set of, except for Gael. He's the only voice artist that is kept in both English and Spanish. So there's a whole other set of actors from Mexico that are doing it. And when you hear the two, it's very, it's like a different shade, a different color. It's really great. I love hearing it in both. But I have to say that, just hearing the whole thing in Spanish with a whole group of people from in Mexico, because we went to Bellas Artes. Beautiful. It was a beautiful experience, and everybody was crying.
Did you cry?
I did cry. You know how you try and like don't make it, like, let it drop and then kind of go like that.
It was so sweet, and yeah.
But
it's
what
really sweet.
was it that made you cry? Was it the storyline or just the fact that, this accomplishment had finally been brought to the big screen?
I think each time I saw it, I cried about different things. The first time I saw, when I heard the song Proud Corazon at the very end, that last song that Adrian and I wrote together, when his family's accepted him as a musician.
I love that.
And he's singing about how proud he is to play. And I heard it all in Spanish. That time, I loved that experience. And then also, the second time, I don't know if you know, but they make an ofrenda on the screen, and you see all these images of the families of all the artists that worked on the film. It's a digital ofrenda. And the first time I saw it, I couldn't tell where I put my grandparents, Luis Franco and Josefina Peña.
Okay.
I couldn't tell where they were, but the second time I found their photo, and my son was with me, and I was like, Mateo!
Oh my God. I'm gonna cry now.
It was really beautiful.
I feel that after Coco, Halloween will never be the same because, especially for people that had no idea what really Dia de los Muertos means and what the tradition really is like.
Right.
And now after Coco, it's like, forget Halloween, we like Dia de los Muertos better.
People assume that it was
love
just like a day to make skulls. I think a lot of people just don't think about it as a way to remember your ancestors and cherish your family. And
That's a very beautiful holiday.
Yeah.
Now, you work with a lot of non-Latinos in the business, and do you think that they have a better understanding and appreciation of the richness of particularly Mexican culture with a film like this? Do you think that this movie has that kind of impact?
I think so. I mean, it's beautiful. It's showing such positive images of our culture, and you have all these little funny things like, the grandma with the tamales, and, just the smallest thing, the alebrijes.
Chancla.
I mean, if you look at the set and the lighting, I mean, you do feel like you go there into Oaxaca. It's a Santa Cecilia is the pueblo that it's supposed to be. But I mean, the director, Lee Unkrich, and Darla K. Anderson, the producer, and Adrian Molina, the co-director, they went on multiple research trips. They traveled all over, and they photoed, they videoed, and basically they did everything they could to show the true beauty of Mexico.